Good morning. It's August 31st, and it's to my liberal friends. The time has come when, as a nation, we have to face some facts about the people we keep sending to office. Yesterday, the Republican leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, froze when asked a question and was unable to respond. And his solution was he would see a doctor, but this has been a repeated problem that we know about at least two times. Dianne Feinstein, the aging senator from California, she's unable to coherently talk about things and has to be protected and prompted by her staff. And it's not something new. In my 42 years working around Congress, I've seen it happen over and over. Aging politicians who keep getting elected on name ID but cannot do the job because of age and infirmity. Strom Thurmond, a Republican from South Carolina, died in office at 100. He lived his last few years at Walter Reed Hospital. They would wheel him in when they needed his vote. Robert Byrd, a Democrat from West Virginia, was in his 90s. He had served in the Congress for 51 years. He was incontinent and suffering from dementia at the end. It's not a Republican or Democratic issue. It's an issue of age and those politicians not knowing when to quit. Years ago, when I was a staffer in the Senate, I was sitting on the couch in the back where staff members sat. Bob Dole used to have his desk on the back row, and he had a quick wit. An elderly member of the Senate entered the chamber. Dole turned to us and said, quote, "I tell all my colleagues that once you hit age 70 to keep running. This is the best old age home in the country." End quote. Now, we all started laughing, and the sergeant arms officer tossed us from the floor. Now, I have repeatedly said that they have to set an age limit on how long you can serve in Congress or as president. We have age minimums written into the Constitution. You have to be at least 25 to serve in the House, 30 years of age to serve in the Senate, and you must be 35 to be elected president. In the past, I've said that once you hit the age of 75, you can no longer run, and I still say that that should be the case. In fact, I might even lower that age to 70. Think about that for a minute. That would eliminate both Trump and Biden this time around. Years ago, my partner and I found Quentin Burdick, a Democrat from North Dakota, wandering around the Cannon House office building. He was completely disoriented. He'd made a wrong turn and thought he was in the Russell Senate office building. My partner at the time was a former senator, and we quietly took him back to his office. He died a few months later while still serving in office. These politicians cling to the power because it's all they know in life. They relish having a staff of people at their beck and call. They need to be referred to as a senator or congressman because it's become their identity, and without it, they would simply fade into the woodwork. And if you think the geriatrics are not running the country, then simply take a look at the number of members of the Senate and House that are over age 75. It'll shock you, and here are some examples. In the Senate, you have Chuck Grassley, 89, Dianne Feinstein, 89, Bernie Sanders, 81, Mitch McConnell, 81, Ben Cardin, 79, Jim Reese, 79, Richard Durbin, 78, Angus King, 78, Edward Markey, 76, and Blumenthal, 76, Mitt Romney, 75, Peter Welch, 75, and he's a freshman senator, Mazie Hirono, 75, Joe Manchin, 75, Gene Shaheen, 75, Thomas Carper, 75. And that's 16 U.S. senators that are age 75 and older, and there are 18 more that are between 70 and 75. In the House of Representatives, Grace Napolitano is 86, Eleanor Norton, 85, Harold Rogers, 85, Bill Pascrell, 85, Maxine Waters, 84, Steny Hoyer, 83, Jim Clyburn, 82, Nancy Pelosi, 81, Danny Davis, John Carter, both 81, Anna Eshoo and Frederica Wilson, they're 80, and Rosa DeLauro is 79. I did note that in the House, only 2 Republicans were over 80, while 11 Democrats exceed that number. Clearly, they heard what Bob Dole was saying. I would also point out there are 60 members of the House that are between ages 70 and 79. So I think you're getting my point. These politicians just don't know how to quit. Being in office is what keeps them alive, and it's become their sole identity. Some would say that we need term limits, and I've gone back and forth on that issue. I suggest the age limits because, in effect, it is a term limit, and it also forces members of Congress to retire like the rest of the world. If you think some of them are out of their prime and should be gone, I would only refer you to Hank Johnson, a Democrat from Georgia. Several years ago, in a hearing about the U.S. Navy budget, Mr. Johnson quizzed the panel of admirals about the buildup of military force on Guam as we moved them from Okinawa. He described the size and island of Guam in great detail, both in length and width. And then he asked the admirals if they were concerned about the number of military personnel and their equipment being positioned on the west end of the island. Would it cause the island to tip over and sink? I kid you not. Those admirals should have been given a medal for not busting into laughter. They kept a straight face and assured the congressman that was not in a real danger. If you don't believe me, Google Hank Johnson and you'll see the video. So I say it again. We need age limits in Congress and the presidency, and we need them now. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe, recommend it, or if you have a comment, leave it.